Let's explore the concept of donor stewardship. In the process of donor stewardship, this is about building on the cultivation process and taking it even further. So after a donor is given, what kind of steps do you want to take? Number one is to thank them. So acknowledge every gift promptly and personally. The best thank you calls happen within 48 hours of receiving a gift. I can tell you that most of them do not occur that quickly, but it is ideal to seek after that turnaround as often as possible. You want to make sure that it's an information sharing process. So share specific impact stories that connect the donor's gift to real outcomes, not just organizational needs. Focus on involvement to offer meaningful engagement opportunities beyond writing a check, such as going on a tour of the organization or spaces involved with the organization, playing advisory roles with the organization, participating in events, and serving as introductions to additional beneficiaries, folks who might join in or become part of the donor funnel later on. You want to recognize your donors, celebrate them publicly and privately in ways that match their preferences and giving level. In terms of that match, that also goes back to the values of your organization. There are some organizations where some sense of donor hierarchy matters a lot. So the more you give, the more you get celebrated. There's other organizations that are very intentional about not approaching it in that way. So you want to know what your principle, what your philosophy is about that, and then act accordingly. And then focus on retention. So consistent stewardship is the single most powerful predictor of donor retention and lifetime giving value, meaning how much they continue to give over time. If they're not hearing from you, eventually they may drop off the donor cliff and stop giving altogether. When they hear from you again, that's a moment to maintain that connection, donorship connection, or even step it up, elevate it even further. So here's an activity called a stewardship audit that you're going to work on collectively. So you're going to pull up the donors who gave in the last 12 months. This is an activity where you'll need some support from a staff member for this. This is something you can do as a workshop at a board meeting. For each donor, identify the most recent stewardship touch point, thank you call, letter, event, invitation, or personal meeting. Ideally, that's the kind of information that you maintain in your donor relationship module. So you're tracking all of that by date. So it ideally would just automatically be in that donor list, that donor database. Assign 3 to 5 donors to each board member for personal outreach this quarter, and even plan that out. So it says here, draft a 90-day stewardship calendar with specific board-led touch points, but you can go back to that 30, 60, 90-day approach where you say, I'm going to try to achieve as much of this as possible in the first 30 days, or here's what I will do to try to achieve this in 30 days, and then see what then needs to be pushed up further to 60 and finally to 90. And then you can repeat that again each quarter. So take some time, really a lot of time here to work on this activity. And then some discussion questions. What does meaningful stewardship look like for donors at each giving level in your organization? Does it look kind of the same regardless of how much they give? Does it look entirely different because of how much they give? That's something for you to discuss based on the principles and values of your organization. How can board members personalize their stewardship outreach without duplicating staff efforts? So it's really important that you understand the roles that both board and staff play, and that you're aware of each other's work and not duplicating each other's work. What barriers prevent you from stewarding donors consistently, and how can you address them as a board? I know for me, something that came up at a meeting once recently was acknowledging that outside of sending letters to donors, I never otherwise use the mail system. I never have stamps. And so just realizing that having someone put stamps in my hand would allow me to expedite this process that I was otherwise fully capable of was very helpful. And so looking for places where you can say those things out loud, even if it feels ridiculous to say out loud, saying them will actually allow you to get closer to achieving the task. And how should your stewardship practices differ for first-time donors versus long-term donors. It can be tempting to say we should offer more to long-term donors because they've given more over a longer period of time. But there's also a real opportunity that you don't want to miss around getting someone to be very proud of and excited about their first donation to your organization and feel like they're really part of a community that is new for them. So take some time to um, use this discussion ideally after the previous activity or in a follow-up meeting. And a few resources for further learning as well. So a set of readings. This video to watch is a much longer video than I typically suggest. It's an hour long. It's probably going to be difficult to watch in one entire setting, but it has really good details about creating a sustainable donor stewardship system. It's the kind of thing that the board and the staff might want to work on together. Thanks.